Hi everyone, and welcome back to First the Coffee Crochet. In this tutorial we're going to go over how to make the lounging round cat bed. Now there are two sizes to this bed. We have a small, which is the one we're going to go over in this tutorial, and that measures about 12 inches across. And we have the larger one that is about 15 inches across. And if you want the pattern for the larger one, it is included in the written pattern. So this pattern is written in US terms and it is worked in the round. To make this, we make two bottom pieces and then we line up the stitches on the edges of those bottom pieces and connect those using a half double crochet stitch, and then we work up the sides in the round. The sides are 3.5 inches tall, and you can make that taller if you would like by adjusting the amount of times that you do the repeat round. So to make this, I used the Bernat Maker home deck yarn that I think has been remade now into Bernat Maker, but you can use any other number 5 bulky weight yarn, or you could use 2 worsted weight yarns held together to make this. If you're making the small size, the average used was about 355 yards. If you're making the large, it was about 495 yards. You'll also need a 7mm crochet hook, a yarn needle to weave in your ends, and stitch markers can be used to help keep track of your first and last stitches of the round, plus to align the two pieces together and keep the stitches lined up. They can be helpful for that. So the stitches used in this is the single crochet, the half double crochet. We do a single crochet 2 together. Our half double crochets on the bottom pieces are worked in the back 2 loops. And then we also use a modified spiked half double crochet stitch, which was also used in a plant pot cover. We will go over all of these stitches and everything in this tutorial. So as always, there is a written pattern available on my website, and I'll leave a link for that down in the description below. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so to start out, we're going to create our slip knot. And for our foundation, we're going to make a chain of 4. And once we have our chain of 4, we're going to use a slip stitch to join our last and first stitch together. That'll create a ring that we're going to work out of, and we'll be making our first round going into this ring. So for round 1, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to do 8 half double crochets into this ring. So to do a half double crochet, you just yarn over, insert your hook into the ring, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. And we'll do that 7 more times, so we have a total of 8 half double crochets. Okay, so once we have our 8 half double crochets, we're going to use a slip stitch to join the last and first stitch, but we're going to be working in the back 2 loops of the stitch. So what those are is you normally have your 2 parts of your stitch here, the front loop and the back loop, and these make up the V that you normally go under with your hook, like so. And then on the back of the stitch, you have this 3rd loop here that you would go under if you were working in the 3rd loop. So when we say the back 2 loops, we're doing the back loop and the 3rd loop. So we'll just insert our hook under that back loop and then under that 3rd loop and just do a slip stitch. Now for the rest of this base, we're going to be working in those back 2 loops. So our front loop will stay out on top here. Okay, so for round 2, we're going to be doing 2 half double crochets in each stitch all the way around. So you'll chain 1, and these will be worked in those back 2 loops. So we already have our slip stitch under the back 2 loops in this one, and we'll be starting in the first one. So we'll just do 2 half double crochets there. And then we'll do 2 half double crochets in the next stitch. Just do that in each stitch all the way around, and you'll have a total of 16 stitches at the end of round 2. Okay, so now at the end of round 2, we're just going to use a slip stitch to join our last and first stitch, and again, working these back 2 loops, and leave the front loop alone here. For round 3, we're going to chain 1, and again, we'll be starting in this first loop, and we'll be working in the back 2 loops. We're going to do 1/2 double crochet in the next stitch, and that's our first stitch. And then we're going to do 2 half double crochets in the following stitch. Right, then 1 half double crochet, and then 2 half double crochets in the next. You'll just alternate that all the way around. 1 half double crochet in your next stitch, 2 half double crochets in the following. Okay, so at the end of round 3, again, we'll use a slip stitch to join our last and first stitch together. And now for round 4, we're going to chain 1, and again, we'll be starting in our first stitch and working in the back 2 loops. In the first stitch, we're going to do 2 half double crochets. And then we're going to do 1 half double crochet over the next 2 stitches. Right, then in the next stitch we're going to do 2 half double crochets. And then over the next 2 stitches, 1 half double crochet in each stitch. So you're just going to repeat this all the way around. 2 half double crochets in the next stitch, and then 1 half double crochet over each of the next 2 stitches. Right, then at the end of round 4, we're going to use a slip stitch to join our last and first stitch together. So for round 5, we're going to start off by doing a chain of 1, and we'll be working in the back 2 loops and starting in the first stitch like we have in previous rounds. So for round 5, we'll be doing a half double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. Then we'll do 2 half double crochets in the following stitch. And that'll be our repeat for this round. So over the next 3 stitches, 1 half double crochet in each of those. And then in the following stitch, do 2 half double crochets. And just repeat that all the way around. Okay, and then we are going to join our last and first stitch again using the slip stitch. For round 6, again, we'll be starting in the first stitch and working in the back 2 loops. So you'll chain 1 for this round. Then we're going to start off with 2 half double crochets into the first stitch. And then we're going to do 1 half double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. Okay, and then in the next stitch, do 2 half double crochets. Over the next 4 stitches, do 1 half double crochet in each of those. And that'll just be a repeat for this round. Just do 2 half double crochets in the next stitch, and then 1 half double crochet over each of the next 4 stitches. Okay, so at the end of round 6, we're going to use a slip stitch to join our last and first stitch together. So for round 7, we're going to be starting in that first stitch, and we'll be working in the back 2 loops like we have been on previous rounds. We'll chain 1 to start out the round, and then starting in the first stitch and over the next 5 stitches, we'll be doing 1 half double crochet in each of those stitches. Right, and then in that 6th stitch, we're going to be doing 2 half double crochets. And that'll be a repeat for this round. Over 5 stitches, do 1 half double crochet in each of those. And then in the following stitch, do 2 half double crochets. Okay, so at the end of this round, we'll use a slip stitch again to join our last and first stitch. So for round 8, we're going to be starting in the first stitch and working in those back 2 loops here. So we'll start off by chaining 1, and then in the first stitch we'll do 2 half double crochets, and then we'll do 1 half double crochet over each of the next 6 stitches. And that's going to be a repeat for this round, is 2 half double crochets in the next stitch, and then 1 half double crochet over each of the next 6 stitches. Okay, and at the end of this round, just like before, use the slip stitch to join our last and first stitch. For round 9, we're going to chain 1, and like previous rounds, we'll be starting in that first stitch and working in the back 2 loops. So we'll start out this round by doing a half double crochet over each of the first 7 stitches. And then in the following stitch, we're going to do 2 half double crochets. We're just going to repeat that all the way around, half double crochet in each of the next 7 stitches, and then 2 half double crochets in the following stitch. Great, and then we're going to use a slip stitch to join our last and first stitch. For round 10, we'll be starting in the first stitch again and working in these back 2 loops. So we'll chain 1, and in that first stitch we're going to do 2 half double crochets. Then we're going to do 1 half double crochet in each of the next 8 stitches. And that's going to be our repeat for this round, is 2 half double crochets in the next stitch, and then 1 half double crochet over each of the next 8 stitches. Right, and then we're going to use a slip stitch to join the last and first stitch together. Now for round 11, same as before, we're starting in that first stitch. We're working in the back 2 loops of the stitch. So we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do 1 half double crochet starting in that first stitch over the next 9 stitches. Then you're going to do 2 half double crochets in the following stitch, and that's going to be our repeat for round 11, is 1 half double crochet over each of the next 9 stitches, and then 2 half double crochets in the following stitch. Okay, and at the end of round 11, like before, we'll be using a slip stitch to join our last and first stitch. So for round 12, we'll chain 1, and then starting in this first stitch, we're going to do 2 half double crochets, and then we're going to do 1 half double crochet over each of the next 10 stitches. Okay, so that's going to be our repeat, is 2 half double crochets in the next stitch, and then 1 half double crochet over each of the next 10 stitches. Okay, and then we're going to use a slip stitch to join the last and first stitch together. So for round 13, we'll be doing just like before, starting in that first stitch and working in the 2 back loops. So we'll start out by chaining 1, and then over the next 11 stitches, starting in this first stitch, we're going to do 1 half double crochet in each of those stitches. Right, and then in the following stitch, you're going to do 2 half double crochets. And that'll be the repeat for this round. Is you're going to do 1 half double crochet in each of the next 11 stitches, and then in the following stitch do 2 half double crochets, and just do that all the way around. Okay, at the end of round 13, like we've done in the previous rounds, we're going to use a slip stitch to join the first and last stitch together. Now for round 14, we're going to start in the first stitch, and we'll be working in the back 2 loops like we have been doing. So we're going to chain 1, and then in that first stitch we're going to do 2 half double crochet stitches. And then over the next 12 stitches we're going to do 1 half double crochet in each of those stitches. And then in the following stitch we're going to do 2 half double crochets, and we're just going to keep repeating this. So 2 half double crochets and then 1 half double crochet in each of the next 12 stitches, and just repeat that all the way around. Okay, at the end of round 14, just like with the previous other rounds, we're going to use a slip stitch to join the first and last stitch together. So after you've done round 14, you can stop here and start to build your sides up, or you can continue on and make this a larger bed. The written directions do up through round 17, which makes it a pretty good size. Even my biggest cat is able to lay in there with room to spare. And the directions for the additional rounds are in the written pattern, and I have the link for that down in the description below. Okay, so if this is the first one you've made of these, you'll want to go back and make a second one. Okay, so if you've made your second one, we've got 2 here. We're just going to leave this one connected. And what we're going to do, let me zoom this out. This is our front side. This is our back side. So we're going to lay these back to back. And we're going to want to line up our stitches. So when we're looking at this one, this is our first stitch. And we'll want to put that first stitch up to the last stitch that we did on the other one. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a half double crochet in each stitch all the way around. So to start this out, you'll want to get your hook through the first stitch of this one, the last stitch of this one, as they're back to back together. Just make sure everything lines up. You're going to grab your working yarn here, just pull that through those stitches, and go ahead and chain 1 to secure those. So now we'll just work our way around. We have our chain 1. We can go ahead and work over this tail from our other one, so we can just get that secured inside here. We're just going to do half double crochet. So you go through the stitch on one, you go through the stitch on the other here. Then yarn over just like you would with a regular half double crochet. Pull that on through. So we're just going to do this in each stitch all the way around. So go through this stitch here and through the next stitch here. Tuck our tail in. Helps if I do a half double crochet. So just do this all the way around in each stitch to join our 2 bottom pieces together. This way it'll make it more cushy. If you want and you have a cat that prefers cardboard or something, you can always stick a piece of cardboard or something in between these two just to make it a little more solid, and maybe your cat will like that more. You could also put some pet-friendly filling in between the two if you want to make it more pillow-like. You can go ahead and pause the video and I'll meet you back here once you've done half double crochet in each stitch all the way around, joining these two pieces. Okay, so after you've completed all the half double crochets for round 1 of the body, we're going to use a slip stitch to join our first and last stitch. Now we're going to start doing our modified spiked half double crochets, and these will go from rounds 2 through 7. So for round 2, we're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn our work. Now remember, this is the slip stitch that we used to join our last round, so this is our first stitch. When doing these, what you'll need to pay attention to is your current stitch that you're working in and the stitch 1 row below, which is right here. So to do these, we'll insert our hook into the current stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Then we'll insert our hook into the stitch 1 row below, yarn over and pull up a loop. That'll give you 3 loops on your hook like a half double crochet does. Then you'll yarn over and pull through all 3. We're just going to do that in each stitch all the way around. So you go through your current stitch, pull up a loop, go 1 stitch below, pull up a loop. Okay, so at the end of round 2, we're just going to use a slip stitch to join our last and first stitch here. And with these, it's best to try to pull this nice and tight. It'll just help make the seam appear a little less as we're going up the sides on these. So we will continue the modified spiked half double crochet stitch up through round 7. So starting with round 3, what we're going to do, and this will be the same for each round, so we're going to chain 1 and we'll be starting in our first stitch here. So we're going to insert our hook into the first stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Then we're going to look for the stitch 1 row below. And how you find that is when you look at your stitch that you did previously, you'll see this bar and this bar. Where these two meet and go in, that's your stitch that you worked in the row before. So you'll insert your hook there, yarn over and pull up a loop. Then yarn over and pull through all 3. And we're just going to do that for each stitch all the way around. You go into the current working stitch and then find that stitch 1 row below, look for these first 2 bars. And where those go in, that's where your stitch is. So just repeat this all the way around. And each of these rounds will end with a slip stitch to join the first and last stitch like we've done in previous rounds. And with these rounds, if you want to make your sides higher, these are the rounds you'll want to repeat. So you can add more past round 7 if you would like. Okay, so at the end of these rounds, just like before, we use a slip stitch to join our last and first stitch together. Now, from here, after you finished round 7, you could continue to repeat that round to bring your sides up higher if you'd like higher sides, or you can continue with the pattern as written and have the nice low sides, which this tutorial, that's what we're going to do. So for round 8, this is where you're going to start doing the single crochet stitch, and we're just going to do single crochets in each stitch all the way around. And this will be for rounds 8, 9, and 10. So for your next 3 rounds, you'll chain 1, and then you'll start in that first stitch. You'll just do a single crochet, and just do a single crochet in each stitch all the way around. So at the end of these rows, we're going to use the slip stitch. And after you've done 3 rounds of the single crochet, And as the pattern's written, the last round would be round 10. What we're going to do for the next round, round 11, is over each of the next 12 stitches, we're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch. So for this round, you'll start out by chaining 1. Then in that first stitch, we're just going to do a single crochet. And then we'll do that over the next 11 stitches, so we'll have a total of 12 single crochet stitches. Alright, so after we have 12 single crochet stitches, over the next 2 stitches we're going to do a single crochet 2 together. So to do that, we're going to insert our hook into the first stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Then we're going to insert our hook into the next stitch after that, yarn over and pull up a loop. And then we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So that'll just take 2 stitches and bring it down to 1. And what this is going to do is just help bring our sides in a little bit on this last round to create a more of a curve on to the inside. So again, we'll just repeat this all the way around. 12 stitches of single crochets and then a single crochet 2 together. Now depending on where you stopped your rounds for your base, you might not end with a single crochet 2 together, which is absolutely fine. Don't worry about that. Just do 12 stitches and then do a single crochet 2 together. Okay, so at the end of round 11, or the last row, if you chose to do more of these repeat rows here, you're just going to end this using a slip stitch like we've done in previous rows. And now you can go ahead and fasten off and weave in your ends. Thanks for watching, and if you like these tutorials, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified as new ones come out.